Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Genesis X2, which was one of the most stacked Ultimate events that we've ever had. Like, of course it was a Genesis event, but normally when there's a Genesis, there's also a big Japanese event at the same time, so you don't really have that much international talent. That was not the case at this event. Not only was there a ton of Japanese talent, they pretty much just dominated this entire tournament. For your top 16 finishers, you got Umeki, Shinymark, Base Mage, and Ken in 13th. Acola, Beast Paul, Glutony, and Lima in ninth. In seventh place, you're going to have Mia and Tweet. Fifth place is Luigi. Fourth place is Shuton. Third place is Zomba. Second place is Acola. And winning the entire thing was Hurt. So first things first, let's talk about our top 8 seeds that did not get top 8. And every single one of them actually ended up getting 17th place, starting off with Spargo, who actually ended up losing game 5 to Toroguri in the winner's side, and he ends up going Aegis in the first 2 games, doesn't end up winning either of those, and almost pulls off the reverse 3-0 with the Cloud. So with the benefit of hindsight, you should say that Spargo maybe should have won that matchup. I think he wanted to go Aegis based off their previous encounter and then just had it ingrained in his head that he could win in the first game. The second one was kind of a blowout, and then the Cloud just switched too late. So unfortunate for Spargo, definitely. I think if he plays Toiguri again, he will win and he'll just go full Cloud trust in that character. But regardless, he gets sent down to the loser's side of the bracket, where he gets a win on Danny to Denny, as well as Anthony isn't cool, but then he ends up losing to Zomba in a game 5. And I gotta be real, Zomba was just playing out of his mind at this event. But 17th place for Spargo, not what you want to see at the biggest event of the year. If he wants to have that back-to-back title of being the best player in the world, these are events that you really just cannot have, especially now that's going to be a full year ranking. But luckily for Spargo, it wasn't like he was the only one that got 17th, because you also had Sonics, another front runner for best in the world, knocked out at 17th place. In the winner side, he's going to end up getting a nice win on Taike in the Ditto, but he ends up losing to Cola to send him down to losers, and immediately after that he ends up losing to Umeki. Now I know there was like a controller issue in one of the games that ended up getting unplugged, and I think Umeki won because of that, which is definitely unfortunate, but Sonic's bigger man about it on Twitter. Umeki still played incredible in that set, and while it is unfortunate, Sonic's will bounce back. Absolutely same thing for Spargo as well, but definitely a tough way to start your season. And then the final 17th finisher that was supposed to be a top 8 is going to be Light, and this is something that I just actually overlooked when I was making my original video. We'll definitely talk about this later, but Lugi was in Light's path after upsetting Kananabe, and he ends up setting Light down to the loser side, which makes a lot of sense. Extremely difficult matchup for Fox. You have Light getting a game 5 win over Crep Soleil, reverse 3-0, by the way, which is super impressive. Massive props to him for that, as was a 3-1 win over Siski. So taking out a bit of Europe before losing to Lima. And usually if Light and Lima are going to play, I would favor Light, so massive props to Lima for actually taking that one. I do think that's a pretty difficult opponent to overcome. So 17th place for all these guys, definitely really unfortunate. I'm 100% sure that they are going to bounce back. This is just what happens at Genesis. This event is stacked. Some people are going to lose early. And there's 2 more players that actually got 17th that I want to mention. One of them is Raru, who was the 9th seed, so also just a slight underperformance that I do want to mention. You have a crazy reverse 3-0 from Beast Mode Paul in the winner's side. With all Sephiroth tries here in the first 2 games, even the language barrier doesn't help him up, so he just goes with good old spacing, and he gets the dub. Huge props to Paul for that one. But still, Raru falls to the loser side of the bracket. He gets a win on Kion and Hiro before losing to Ken, so a little bit of Japanese team kill right there. But 17th place for Raru, not the best, but also not the worst, especially considering that he is going to be on Luigi. These inconsistent placements sometimes are going to happen. Sometimes some guy will just pull a Sephiroth on the winner side, and there's not a lot you could do about that as the Luigi. So not terrible for Raru. He just, half the top 10 got 17th at this event, but not the placement that he wanted to see. But Kurama is a player that I want to talk about, who also ended up getting 17th place. He got a nice win on Audric before losing to Tweak, and he beats Riddles actually to get himself into the top 64. So eliminates Riddles for 65th to get top 64, which is crazy. And once in this top 64, he beats Yonpi in a game 5 and Raflo in a game 5, which I feel like is absolutely absurd. Raflo almost manages to pull out the reverse 3-0 there as well. And then after that, he gets a nice win on Taike before falling to Mia in Mario Game Watch, which is like, impossible, but he does manage to take a game there. And huge props to Kurama for that Gen G sponsorship, repping another massive team. I don't know how this guy keeps getting these tier 1 sponsors, but if he keeps playing like this, then it's absolutely justified, because he looked amazing. I really hope this is the big return of Kurama that I personally have been looking for. Onto our low tier hero run, starting off with Ven, who's going to pick up a nice upset on Yonpi, which I feel like is crazy to do on Zelda. Maybe that matchup actually isn't that bad because you do a Reflector Peach's super weight, but I feel like hitting a precise lightning kick on that little rat would be so difficult to do, but Ven manages to do so, and he is rewarded with 2 Pyromither players, which is like, damn, unlucky. He got Shuton in the winner side, and then you in the loser side. Shout out to you as well. They performed pretty well at this event. Not a player that you get to see all the time. I think they're from the Philippines, so big ups to them for the run. But then, highest placing Zelda here. Not that there was a lot of competition, but still a very solid run from him. You're going to have Base Mage finishing in 13th place, and he was definitely like the low tier run of the tournament. I don't even know if people consider Puff a low tier, but 13th at Genesis is not where Puff is supposed to be. He has a Game 5 win over Snow in one of the biggest upsets of the tournament, as well as a Game 4 win over Siski. He ends up losing 3-0 to Lugi, and Lugi was just playing on fire in that winner's side. He gets a Game 5 win over Jogabu. Game 5 against a lot of these Japanese top players, and then ends up drawing Mia, which is like really difficult for Jigglypuff. Ends up losing that one 3-0, but super solid run from Base Mage. I don't want to say it was out of nowhere, because like obviously Base Mage has been a very good player for a very long time, but it's been a bit since we've seen him have a run like this where he gets super deep in the bracket, takes a couple big names. So just massive props to him. He played extremely well. But the low tier heroes, and I say heroes of this event, have to be Yoda Cage and Widara playing the weaklessness character Bowser Jr. You're going to have Yoda Cage losing to Shinymark in the winner's side. Does get a win on Yamadi, though, and then beats Colorondo and Yanni before falling to Jogabu in a Game 5. And then Widara is going to get wins on Riddles and Gact in the winner's side before falling to Tweak and then Hero in a Game 5. So big ups to these Bowser Jr. players. Again, they're probably really carried because this character has no flaws, but it's still nice to see them doing well. Really quickly, I want to mention Shinymark because that set between him and Zomba was, I think, one of the most important ones for the tournament, actually unfolding the way that it did. Very close set as well, one of my favorites of the tournament, but Zomba just barely closes it out. And the reason that I bring this up is because, one, Zomba absolutely destroyed the loser side of the bracket, taking out Spargo, Ken, Acola. So if he doesn't lose to Shinymark, he's in a different part of the loser's bracket. Obviously, that's very different. But two, I think if Shinymark and Acola played, that Shinymark probably would have won. He won at the pre-local, and I know it's just a pre-local, but I also think Pikachu does decent against Steve, not necessarily winning. But if you don't know how to deal with Pikachu's tools, which no one in Japan does, nonetheless Acola, I do think that that could be an extremely difficult matchup, one that Shinymark could have won. But regardless, he doesn't. Zomba ends up closing it out. And in the loser side, you have Shinymark getting a Game 5 win over DeBuzz, which is super impressive. I think that matchup is extremely difficult for Pikachu. Then you get a Game 4 win over Snow, as well as a Game 4 win over Toraguri before falling to Tweak. So Shinymark still has a solid run at this event. That DeBuzz win, I feel like I really have to say how impressive it is to get that one. But it's definitely what could have been with Shinymark if he just got that final hit over Zomba. It could have been an extremely different tournament. He still had to get through Shuton on the winner side to get into top 8, which is a whole nother conversation. But still, I will never know. And I've got two more people that I want to mention before we get into the top 8. They both ended up getting 9th, and that's going to be Gluttony and Beast Mode Paul. And they were just playing amazingly, and they didn't happen to get into top 8. But I really wanted to mention them because they were like out of their minds. You have Gluttony with a 3-0 win over Xavier, 3-0 win over Pocket in Wario versus Steve, very difficult to do, and a Game 5 win over Gluttony, or over Mia, I should say, stops the reverse 3-0 from happening. He was playing so well in that set, and maybe it drained all of his power because after that he ends up losing 3-0 to Lugi and 3-0 to Tweak, but still massive props to Gluttony for getting that big win. And the other side of Beast Mode Paul, he's going to have a very competitive set against Mystery that he manages to win to get the top 64, where he then reverse 3-0s Raru, not with his main of Hero, but with his secondary of Sephiroth full fundies, as well as getting a 3-1 win over Tweak. Just played so well there. Then has a Game 5 set against T, which was honestly like a giga banger, and T played that one so well, especially considering that he can't read the menu. Like, he had some crazy reactions in that set. But Beast Mode Paul gets sent down to the loser side, where he then has to face up against Mia, who just goes Rob against him, which is so cruel to do against a hero player, but also like definitely the correct thing to do. You have Beast Mode Paul going Sephiroth in one of the games, and Sephiroth ends up winning, but then Mia just goes Game Watch, and the counter pick war has already been lost. But big props to Beast Mode Paul and Gluttony for the run. Even though they didn't get into the top 8, both of them played absolutely amazing, and they have really solid starts this year. Getting into the top 8, and if there's anyone that I left out, just leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to tell you about their run and sub while you're down there. But starting off with our 7th place finishers of Tweak and Mia, specifically starting off with Tweak. He's going to get a 3-0 win over Kurama and Widara before falling to Beast Mode Paul, and I do think that Beast Mode Paul could be a player that is a thorn in the side of Tweak. He's lost his last 2 sets to him, and it's just the way that Tweak plays Smash Ultimate, the tempo that he plays at, I think is not good against Hero. It allows Hero to use the menu way more than he should be. So, and I'm not just saying that, oh, obviously Tweak just needs to rush down Beast Mode Paul. That's his only issue. Obviously, it's a lot more intricate than that, but Tweak is going to need to make a change to his game plan if he wants to beat Beast Mode Paul in the future. Regardless, though, in the loser side, he gets a Game 5 win over Mpopo, who played amazing, by the way. Big shouts to them, got 17th place with Rosa. 3-0 over Shinymark, and a 3-0 over Gluto as well. And Gluto has beaten Tweak in their last 4 encounters, so this has got to be feeling amazing for Tweak to finally get that win under his belt. And then he ends up losing 3-0 to Shuton, which we'll talk about that when we talk about Shuton. But Tweak ends up placing his seed here. Honestly, don't have a ton to say about it. He's just had a pretty solid start to this season, and he continues to look pretty good here. And it's the exact same thing for Mia, honestly. He's had more than a solid start, though. He's also been more than one event, to be fair. But he's got a 7th place here with a wins over Mpopo and Umeki. That Mpopo win, as I said, he was playing really well at this event. I think Rosa Game Watch is pretty difficult. So shouts to Mia for winning that one in a 3-0. Loses Game 5 to Gluto, which, as I said, Gluto just played out of his mind in that set. Gets a 3-1 win over Kurama. 3-0 win over Base Mage. 3-1 win over Beast Mode Paul. Even going Rob there, which is crazy. He went more Rob at this event than he went Steve. And then ends up losing Game 5 to Zomba. And again, we'll talk about that more when we talk about Zomba, but a 7th place for Mia, not the placement that he wanted to see. Obviously, you know, he obviously wanted to win the event. All of these guys did, but it's not a bad placement by any means. In 5th place, you're going to have T and Lugi, starting off with T, who is going to use all Kazuya at this event. The Pac-Man did not come out a single time, and I'm not saying he dropped Pac-Man. This was probably just a bracket where he just didn't need to use the character, but interesting to point out, he ends up getting 3-1 win over Yanni, 3-0 Beastly, 3-1 Anthony Isn't Cool, 3-1 Toraguri, and a 3-2 win over Beast Mode Paul without being able to read the menu. I have to reinstate that. So impressive from T. That reflect that he gets in Game 5 is unbelievable. And then once in the top 8, he has 2 opponents where he should do pretty well against. He's got a Hurt in the winner's side, which is like, obviously it's Hurt, but he beat him in their last encounter. Hurt struggles against Kazuya, and then once he loses to Hurt 3-0, because Hurt was just playing out of his mind, he has Shuton in the loser side, who he had beaten in his last 2 encounters, but Shuton was also on fire in the loser side and ended up taking T out. And honestly, I really feel like T was playing exceptionally well on that second day, and on that third day, he just ran into 2 players that were playing the best that they had maybe ever been playing. Like, they were absolutely out of their mind there. So honestly, a little bit unlucky for T, but still 5th place at Genesis. He will absolutely take that. Super solid run from him. And another player that I know will definitely take a 5th place at Genesis is going to be Lugi, the highlight player of this event. Absolutely. And this is a player that I overlooked. He had a very good bracket coming in, but it doesn't take away from any of the credit that he is actually getting at this event. He gets a win on Nesboy 12, a 3-0 win on Kananabe, and a 3-1 win over Light. So yes, the Luigi player got 2 Foxes in a row. Obviously, that's going to be nice, but he still has to beat those 2 Foxes, and one of them is a top 5 player in the world right now, so very impressive. After that, you know, we gave you 2 easy matchups. Here's the edge guarding character in Jigglypuff. Don't care. 3-0 win over Luki. And then here's the guy from your region that is like a gatekeeper, constantly beats you, so difficult. The second time that Luki has ever beaten him, 3-0 win over Lucy. He was just playing out of his mind on this second day. And then I feel like a similar thing that happened to T happened to Lugi in this third day, where he just runs to Acola and Zomba in the winners and losers side respectively, and just gets 3-0'd in both of those matches. Both those guys playing absolutely insane. I also think matchup-wise, like Steve against Luigi, very difficult. Specifically Zomba against Luigi, very difficult. I think he plays that matchup extremely well, but amazing run from Lugi, and more importantly, I'm just really happy that he was able to showcase how talented he is, because Lugi has been one of the best players in Europe for a very long time, but he just hasn't been able to show that at an event outside of Europe. Well, now he's done it on the biggest stage, and everyone is going to be familiar with the name now. You have to be. And we've arrived at the top 4, and I'm making a distinction because this top 4 was like unbelievable. I don't know what was slipped into these guys' waters, but they were all playing a league above everyone else. For Shuton, he's our 4th place finisher, by the way. He's get wins on Risk Taker, Askro, Ven, and Ken before falling to Acola in the winner's side, but gets a Game 5 win over Lima to get himself into top 8, where he then gets his first ever win over Tweak in Smash Ultimate. Prior to this, it was a 7-0 record for Tweak. So
Massive ups to Shuton for that one, finally conquering his main bracket demon. He's got to be feeling so good about that. Immediately after that, he gets a 3-1 win over T as well, who nowhere near as big of a demon, but he had beaten him in the more recent encounters. And then after that, he loses a very competitive Game 5 set to Zomba that could have gone into his favor, maybe even should have, but Zomba ends up clutching it out. And I just gotta highlight that tweak win again. This has got to be such a big moment for Shuton. To do it on this stage as well, where it matters the most, has got to be amazing for him. So big props to Shuton. Amazing run from him, but more importantly, good job beating Tweak finally. In third place, you're going to have Zomba. And I can't lie to y'all, I thought the back-to-back was happening the way that this guy was playing in this loser's side top 8. Even prior to that, he was a monster. He's got a Game 5 win over Modsai, Game 5 win over Shinymark. As I mentioned, definitely go watch that set. It's a banger. Loses Game 4 to Acola, then beats Spargo in a Game 5, taking out the first seed at 17th place. 3-0's Ken, 3-0's Cola to get into top 8. Beats Mia in a Game 5, his first ever win over Mia, and also the first ever Rob player to beat Mia, I can almost guarantee you, because Game & Watch Rob should not be winnable unless you are just a 0-to-death machine. And Zomba wasn't necessarily a 0-to-death machine, but he was a touch of death machine. Every single time that this guy would hit you, he would just advantage state you, fully capitalizing on how Mia wants to use up B as well, just not letting him get away with things for free. Amazingly played by Zomba. So impressive. 3-0's Luigi, definitely expected. I think Rob is good in that matchup. Obviously, your combo food for Luigi, but every other aspect I think you do really well in. And then finally gets a Game 5 win over Shuton. As I already mentioned, that matchup is pretty difficult for Rob. Like, the neutral specifically is just really hard. Obviously, you have a massive win condition in edge guarding, but I think that's really the only aspect where I would maybe favor Rob. Maybe the advantage state as well, just because Pyra Mithra isn't the best in disadvantage, but you also have to deal with that big Mithra or massive Pyra up here when you're coming down as Rob, Nair, or not. Regardless, so let's not talk about Pyra Mithra forever, because we still have another matchup for Zomba to lose. Unfortunately for him, it's going to be another loss to Acola, 3-0 this time. And I actually thought that Zomba would beat Acola when they played, because they haven't played prior to this in like so long. I think the last time that Zomba and Acola played was in Tokyo Smash Bootcamp 2023, and the only time they ever played it like a real major event prior to this was Let's Make Move Miami 2022. I thought the Rob would honestly have the tricks, but to be fair to Acola, he just looked extremely prepared for that matchup, was not caught off at all. So massive ups to Acola for the preparation, but bigger ups to Zomba for his losers run to third place, taking out a majority of the top talent that this game has to offer, and your highest placing NA player by far. In second place, you're going to have Acola, and he is going to be very dominant in this tournament, except when he plays hurt. He's got a 3-0 win over Kirash, 3-0 win over Medalno, 3-1 win over Zomba, which is the only player he drops a game to, aside from hurt, so big shouts to Zomba for that. 3-0 win over Shuton, 3-0 win over Lugi, loses 3-0 to Hurt, 3-0 win over Zomba, and then loses 3-0 to Hurt again. And Hurt has been giving Acola a run for his money. He has beaten him in their last 5 encounters at the very least. Yeah, it is just 5 encounters, and it's just because Acola is being straight up lazy with his options, with his blind cards, with his anvils. He's not thinking about them. He's just throwing them out like he would against any other character, but this isn't any other character, and this isn't any other player either. This is going to be Hurt, who is going to exploit you with an up tilt or a back air if he can, but if he can't, then he's just going to exploit you with a grenade. He's just going to throw a grenade at the anvil, throw a grenade at the minecart, so you're not only going to lose the resource from actually using that minecart or anvil, but you're going to take damage and still be in the bad spot, and Acola is just not realizing this, or if he is realizing this, he's not doing anything to change it up. And obviously it's easier said than done, just like, oh, just stop minecarding against her. It's snake and neutral. That's like one of your most important tools, but Acola is going to need to be just a lot more like fundamental if he wants to beat Hurt. He's going to need to play around the grenades better. He cannot just force the option and use the Steve Tech, because the Steve Tech isn't going to work against Hurt. Not only does Snake have the tools to fully exploit it, but Hurt is the player that has the timing and will press the buttons, and more importantly has the confidence to rip an up tilt when there's a minecart 2 feet in front of him, to go for a crazy back air when there's an anvil following him. He doesn't care. He knows his spacing is good. He knows his call is going to be correct. And if Acola keeps giving his opportunities, he's going to keep losing. So amazing one from Cola. He's still poised to be the best player in the world right now. Like, he's not poised to be the best because Hurt's poised to be the best, but he's obviously in contention for that title. I'm making this sound a lot more dramatic than it is. Acola is still amazing, but Hurt is a player that he definitely needs to figure out. And your winner of Genesis X2, no sets dropped. Your current best player in the world is going to be Hurt. And I mean that he is the best player in the world. He's got wins on Vins, Vendetta, Jogabu, Lima, Cola, T, and double eliminates Acola at this event, only dropping 3 games throughout the entirety of it. One of them to Lima, which massive shouts to Lima. That's a very tough matchup, so big props to him for getting a game. And then 2 of them to Cola, which was a banger set. Highly recommend that you watch Cola Hurt, one of the sets of the tournament. But Hurt was just dominant at this event. He was unbelievable. His spacing, incredible. His timings, impeccable. What can I say about this guy? Except that he's just like the best in every aspect of this Snake character. And it's been that way for a while, but you're seeing it fully exploited, I think, at Genesis. He's just doing everything that he needs to be doing. In the disadvantage state, you cannot touch this guy because he's wiggling around too much. In the neutral, you cannot touch this guy because he's wiggling around too much with explosions at his feet. And then whenever you get close to him, he picks a timing with like a down tilt, a forward tilt, a dash attack. It's so hard to get in against a character like Snake when they're moving as fast as Hurt is. And I say that Hurt's the best player in the world confidently because if you don't know, he also has won Smash Awesome, which was an S plus tier, and got second place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, which was also an S plus tier. So he's got a first place at an S plus tier, second place at an S plus tier, and a first place at a P tier event. Hurt is poised to be the best player in Smash Ultimate for 2025 right now. And I gotta say, when you watch him play, he looks like the best player in the world. He is just unbelievable, so fluid in his movement, everything that he does. As a Snake player, I'm so happy that I have lived long enough that I get to see peak Snake in my lifetime. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The sport has been absolutely unreal. As late as anything I left out, got wrong, or just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.